My parents believed controlling me was their right. They controlled my money, my choices, my future, every single part of my life. But when they tried to steal the last thing I had left, I stopped begging, and I started documenting, and the revenge I pulled wasn't loud, violent, or illegal. It was legal, brutal, and so perfect that they never saw it coming. Hi, I'm Emily, and I grew up in a house where my parents believed control is love. At least, that's what they said every time I questioned their rules. But trust me, it wasn't love. It was ownership. They owned my time. They owned my decisions. They owned my money. They even tried to own my future. But they forgot something important. When you push a quiet girl hard enough, she learns how to push back silently, legally, and in a way you can't recover from. My parents raised me under a strict system. I wasn't allowed to choose my clothes. I wasn't allowed to pick my friends. I wasn't allowed to join clubs. I wasn't allowed to date. My dad would say, "You don't get to make decisions until you're reliving under your own roof." Except every time I tried to become independent, they blocked me. At 15, I got a small job tutoring kids. My mom forced me to hand over every dollar. "It's for your future," she said. At 17, I got accepted into a college out of state. My parents refused to let me go. "You'll go where we tell you," Dad said. At 18, they opened a joint bank account, but it was joint in name only. They monitored every transaction. They restricted where I could spend my own money. They even set spending limits, and I was stupid enough to think it was normal. But what cracked me wasn't the control, it was the humiliation. On my 21st birthday, I planned a small dinner with a few coworkers. Nothing wild, just a simple celebration. My parents were already there. They had demanded the location from my younger sister, then showed up uninvited. In front of everyone, my mom loudly announced, "We have to supervise our daughter. She makes terrible life choices if we don't." Everyone stared at me. I felt myself shrink like I was 6 years old again. That night I cried on my apartment floor. I was done. I was done being the puppet. I was done being financially controlled. I was done being spoken for. I wanted revenge, not petty revenge. Real revenge, lasting revenge, legal revenge, the first step. I stopped arguing. It took them by surprise. Suddenly, I was agreeable, cooperative, obedient. They didn't know obedience wasn't surrender, it was camouflage. While they relaxed, I worked. Step 1, I opened a secret bank account. My coworker helped me open one under my name only. Every paycheck after that, straight into that account, the joint account, I let it sit untouched. Let them watch the balance decline slowly. Let them think I was still dependent. Step 2, I documented everything. Screenshots of controlling messages. Bank statements showing unauthorized transfers they made for emergencies. Recordings of them saying I wasn't allowed to make financial decisions. Emails where they used my money without permission. Even their birthday humiliation. Step 3. I hired a lawyer. Not a fancy one. Just a calm, sharp attorney who specialized in financial abuse. She looked through my documentation and said, "Emily, you have enough here to legally separate your finances, file a restraining order, and recover stolen funds." I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Power. Step 4. I moved in silence. I applied for college again, this time out of state. I applied for grants, scholarships, housing. I didn't tell a soul. The big moment came on a random Sunday morning. My parents barged into my apartment using the spare key they refused to return. I was packing. Mom shrieked, "What is this? You're moving." Without asking us, Dad said, "You can't afford to live alone. You need us." I smiled, calm, collected, cold. "I actually don't." They stared at me as I handed them 2 envelopes. Envelope 1. A letter from my lawyer informing them they no longer had legal access to any of my finances records. Or account saying that they had 2 weeks to return every dollar they had taken. Envelope 2. A document confirming my acceptance into a school 3 states away. Mom's face turned red. Dad started yelling, "You are ungrateful. You can't survive without us. We raised you. You owe us." I looked at them really, looked hand. Said the 7 words they never expected to hear. "You no longer have control over me." Then I told them something even worse. I documented everything, every dollar, every message, every restriction, every humiliation. And unless you return what you stole, my lawyer will file theft and financial abuse charges. They went absolutely silent. For the first time, they were scared of me. Not because I threatened violence, not because I screamed, not because I cursed, but because I was prepared. Calm, confident, and legally bulletproof. They tried everything. Manipulation? You'll regret this. You're tearing the family apart. Guilt? You're hurting your mother. Anger? You think you're better than us. But their power had an expiration date. For years, they had controlled me through money. Now I was financially invisible. They tried to access the joint account. It was empty. They tried to call my employer. I had already quit and started a new job. They tried to contact my college. I listed no emergency contacts. They tried to threaten legal action. My lawyer shut that down in 2 emails. 2 weeks later, they returned every cent they'd taken because the alternative was court. I moved across the country with nothing but my clothes, my laptop, and a strange new feeling. Freedom. For the first time in my life, I breathed. Control is an addiction. Some parents feed on it. But when you take away their power, when you remove the one thing they use to hold you hostage, they crumble. My parents didn't lose a daughter, they lost their puppet. And I found myself not loudly, not violently, but legally and brutally. So, if you're in a controlling family, here's the truth. You don't escape by fighting louder. You escape by planning smarter. Silence can be a weapon. Documentation is armor and legal revenge. It hits harder than anything else. Take back your life, take back your money, take back your choices. You deserve freedom, even if you have to steal it back from the people who stole it first.